Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another reading of the book Codeword Barbelon, Danger in the Vatican. This antichrist world system we live in today on this February 17, 2018. And Jörg Glismann and I are gathered here today on the Sabbath day to read chapter 14, The Jesuit Assignment. Hello, Jörg.
Hello, Bret. Been such a long time, I think 5 minutes since we spoke.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Yeah, you know, Bret had something to do in the Antichrist world and earned some money. Therefore, yesterday we couldn't come to the table and do a reading, and I asked him if we today maybe we could try to do two, and that's why we are here back now. And without any further ado, without any further ado, I want to go right back into it, the Jesuit Assignment. I left you with a very steady preparation of this chapter, so there's no need to dance around the fire and not come to the point. That's what we are going to do when we are reading chapter 14 of Codeword Barbelon now, the Jesuit Assignment. As we have learned, one of the major assignments of the Jesuits in this world today, the field of education, starts with a quote from A.H. Newman, Manual of the Church History, that goes, quote, "Wherever the Pope might send them," unquote. That's, of course, what we have already learned by the Jesuits earlier, right?
Yeah.
And there comes another quote from Edmund Burke, which goes, "An infectious plague requiring the most severe quarantine," unquote. Yeah, about that quarantine, there were two American presidents exchanging some wisdom and knowledge about the Jesuit order in letters, where one said that this, if ever in society of men earned eternal damnation, it is the society of Jesus, and the other one replied, "Yes, but we are obliged by our constitution and religious freedom or freedom of religion that is put in there to give them refuge." And that's how the Americans invited Roman Catholicism with open arms into their nation that they just built, because people have no idea that the Protestant colonies then all of a sudden would turn into a Catholic-controlled government from the top down. And this is only possible when you are following the training of the Jesuit order. And therefore, we are having a look, how are people willingly, knowingly, voluntarily, but also unknowingly, unwillingly, and even involuntarily trained by Jesuits. Because I think, Bret, this is an important point that we make. When you tell people who the Jesuits are, and then ask them, do you want to go on a school and be educated like these people? I think the normal reaction of a normal person would probably be, no, I don't. But it is because they are not made aware of this, that they think that the Jesuits are great educators. And this is what this chapter deals with. Now let's go into the quote-unquote nitty-gritty. Let's go into the Jesuit assignment, and we're going to read how they do that you are voluntarily or involuntarily are Jesuit educated. Having completed his training, the Jesuit is assigned his place in his army of the dead. Says Wiley, quote, "Dead as a word is dead when it rests in its scabbard," unquote, but ready once drawn. The Society of Jesus has been described as a naked sword whose hilt is at Rome and whose point is everywhere. Everywhere. There was no region of the globe, says Macaulay, no walk of speculative or active life in which Jesuits are not to be found. In his oft-quoted book, Report on the Constitutions of the Jesuits, the French lawyer Châtelet tells us that under the constitutions, the Jesuit general assigns to all provincials, superiors, and members of the society of whatever grade the powers they are to exercise, the places where they are to labor, the missions they are to discharge, and he may annul or confirm their acts at his pleasure. Said Noah Porter, professor of moral philosophy in Yale, quote, "The most important services for which the Jesuits were trained were those of missionary labor, the confessional, diplomacy, and education. Then they would arm the defenders of Rome with a store of well-considered arguments and train them to their skillful use. They aspired also to gain for the Church a splendid fame for wisdom and learning. But most of all did they deliberately and steadily aim to gain a personal influence over the youth, so as to be able to mold and use them. They were an organized society, numerous yet compact, everywhere present, yet never beyond the reach or voice of their general. Their energies are concentrated on the single object of becoming the ablest and the most attractive teachers of Christendom. If an able and influential college were needed in an important city, they could call one into being in a week and furnish it with the teachers exactly fitted for the place." Unquote. From Noah Porter's book, The Educational Systems of the Puritans and Jesuits Compared. That would probably be an interesting book. The Educational Systems of the Puritans and Jesuits Compared. That would be a real study of learning against learning.
Comment.
I just wanted to say, do you have any comments there, Bret? Please.
Oh, I sure do. I was listening to you read this, and I was just thinking in my mind, my goodness, how about that mask that the darned, what's this thing called again? Anonymous, and then you have the
Vendetta.
Yeah, V for Vendetta.
V for Vendetta.
And what's with this ideology going on right now with this gunpowder? I mean, we went through this a long time ago, but certainly the more I read into this, the more I think maybe it should be something I should look more into, is breaking down that stupid movie. And because I was talking with one of my younger friends here just not too long ago, and he came to visit, and we went out for a little hike, and he was telling me, Bret, you really should do that. And I thought, well, maybe he's right, because I know we've had some other comments about that there are people that really want to hear, well, what is really going on with this thing? What is this stupid ideology they're trying to push on the youth? And they get a bunch of them, I'm sure. But, yeah, it's toxic, I'm sure. That's why I don't even want to look at it. Anyway, Jörg, that's my comment. Okay.
I'm going to continue then. And I'm sorry I didn't say in the beginning where we start off. It's the beginning of the chapter, of course, on page 145. We are continuing
that's
now
right.
on
145 and 146. Now
on the second paragraph on page 146 to continue. Yeah, I didn't say the page number, but I said that we are going to start the new chapter. So that's
I think anyone that looks it up in the beginning of the book can easily find the Jesuit Assignment.
Okay, so thus the Jesuits teachers. I'm not in the mood here. Thus the Jesuits teachers shape states as well as men. Okay. Thus the Jesuits teachers. I don't think the Jesuits should be Jesuits. Should be Jesuit. That's why I'm confused with the sentence.
Yeah.
Thus
it's
the
plural.
Jesuit teachers shape state as well as men. The S is too much. That's why I didn't understand the sentence. I'm sorry.
Either you're Protestant or Roman Catholic or Jesuit. Yeah, right. Simple.
Thus the Jesuit teachers shape state as well as men. And so their poisonous influence will continue as long as rivers run to the sea. Says Newman, the A.H. Newman that we spoke about earlier, quote, Jesuitism is thus the most perfect embodiment of the papal idea. Did you get that? That's a nice expression. Jesuitism is thus the most perfect embodiment of the papal idea. The society combines high enthusiasm with careful selection and thorough training of the individual members and with perfect organization. In such a combination, whether the principles involved be right or wrong, there is almost irresistible power, unquote. In the annals of history, we are hard-pressed to find another example of men so subject to the will and control of one man, the general of the Jesuits. Writes Dr. James Edgar Wiley, quote, when the general has a behest to execute, he can select the fittest agent from an innumerable host, all of whom are ready to do his bidding. The past history, the good and evil qualities of every member of the society, his talents, his dispositions, his inclinations, his tastes, his secret thoughts have all been strictly examined, minutely chronicled, and laid before the eye of the general. It is the same as if he were present in person and had seen and conversed with each. End of the quote. But this is just a repetition of things that we read 2 broadcasts earlier already. Remember?
Yeah.
That the general is embodied in every member of its society. It's just the same, in other words, again. Of course, here and there is repetition, but this repetition is necessary because the lie has been repeated so many times. It is not the worst thing at all that the truth is being repeated a few times also.
Oh, man, Jörg, I've been working in my spare time here. I'm just going off topic for just a millisecond here. James Aiken Wiley, we're quoting him here. And, of course, I just can't help but make a little comment about James Aiken Wiley. He's such a how do you say this? He's so good at pinning the tail on the donkey here. In such precise terms. I just love his writing here. I really, really just love this book that I've been scanning and photographed and making a PDF of. I just wish that my PDF was a little higher quality, but it'll do for now, I guess. But yeah, J.A. Wiley is a wonderful author.
Surely is. Surely is.
That book that Tom so graciously read for us on Inquisition Update, Rome and Civil Liberty, or the Papal Aggression. I forget the rest of the title. Papal Aggression. Can you help me here? What was it?
No, I can't help you, but Rome and Civil Liberty just puts it very eloquently. That is the main title of the book.
Mm-hmm. That was such a wonderful read he did, and explains such a great deal of why there is this big, huge, gigantic firewall up at 1776 in the United States,
Yep.
And people aren't willing to go beyond the firewall. We broke away from Great Britain, that was good. We're independent. Yeah, yeehaw. It's stupid. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
But when you confront someone and tell them, wait, now, just start thinking about this. Have you ever thought about this? And, I think that some people are ready to hear it. Not everybody, but there are some.
Bret, to cut this a little bit short, one of the greatest achievements of the Jesuit teachings is that they never told anybody that the war for independence from the United States of America or from the colonies against Great Britain, against England at that time, was a religious war.
That's right.
Because if they told the people that that was a religious war, nobody would have fought. They would have thrown the Jesuits who wanted to start that incident. They would have thrown them out. But they were so smart. They used this phrase, "no taxation without representation," from Jesuit-trained Charles Carroll, and everybody in the colonies was eating that up. And then came this Boston
Tea Party. Oh man!
Yeah.
And isn't that in the Rulers of Evil too? About how that's all Freemason.
Yeah, how that were
garbage.
Freemasons dressed as Indians who threw the tea into the Boston Harbor at that time.
Yeah.
And it was that phrase that was coined at that time by a Jesuit-trained Daniel Carroll. No taxation. Charles Carroll, sorry.
Right.
Charles Carroll, no taxation without representation, that the people just gobbled up and didn't even think about it.
Yes.
You know, this is a very important point that we have to make, Bret.
Yes.
All the wars, not only since the time of the Jesuits, but surely every war since the time of the Jesuits has been a war with a religious background.
That's
but
right.
This is what they don't tell us in the history books. When I went to school over here in Germany and all these years and I studied history, I got history lesson. I always was very, very good in history because I was really interested into that. But when they told us that country went to war with that country and that country with that country and this war and that war and blah, 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 and you knew all the people, quote unquote, behind it. It was this prince, it was that count, it was that emperor, it was that Reich, it was that land, it was that country, it was that princedom, whatever. And these years, those stuff I only knew, and I was good because of that in history, because I was very willingly being indoctrinated. But never, ever, ever was I told that these wars, even any of these wars, not even one, had a religious background. And that is what they hide from all our education system today still. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. They do.
If they taught the people that it is all about religion, people would wake up and wanted to look up what religion is this then all about. You know?
Yep,
in the words of Milton William Cooper, the late Bill Cooper, this is one of the sentences that really burned itself into my brain. William Milton Cooper said at one time, if you're religious or if you are not religious is not the matter. You need to understand the religion of the people who are in the ruling places all over the world. If you do not see their motivation of their rule, whether you share their religion or you don't, you will never ever understand it. And that's the point. I don't have to be quote-unquote religious. I don't have to be quote-unquote a Christian, a Catholic, a Muslim, a Hindu, a Buddhist, a atheist, whatever, to understand the policy of the people who are in power, the so-called quote-unquote the powers that be, the people who are in the center of power in this world and who pull the strings. If I don't understand what religion they follow, I am lost and I cannot grasp to understand any of their actions.
That's right.
And that is what the whole world today, Bret, is all about.
Yes.
People see politicians act and do things and they don't understand, because how comes when this person was a presidential candidate, he said this and this and this, now he is a president and all of a sudden he acts like this and this and this, and this is contrary to what he said before. How is that? Because you can make any promise to get elected because you have mental reservation. It doesn't matter what you promise. It doesn't matter what oath you take to get into that office. When you are at that office, you will follow your religion. You will follow your God. And the people who are in power of this world have one God they follow, and that is the God in Rome. This little white guy called the Pope, the Antichrist of the Bible. That's right. If I don't understand that, whether I believe in it or I don't believe in it, it doesn't matter. I have to understand what they believe, what they follow. And then if I see all of a sudden, because that was the way it was with me, because when I read that stuff from William Cooper, I wasn't a Christian.
Right.
God was not my life. He had not saved me yet. But all of a sudden, it dawned on me. And I said, okay, I don't have to believe what they believe, but I have to understand what they believe to understand what they do.
Yes.
And that was the moment that all of a sudden an avalanche came to me.
I was just sitting there ready to go.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. That is so wonderful. Yeah, that avalanche, man. That's really something. Yeah, I think I got hit with that sucker after I listened to that broadcast you guys did.
All of a sudden, I was shown the light that set me free from Plato's cave.
Oh man, isn't that something?
And you have to read the allegory of Plato's.
It hits hard, man. When it hits.
You have to read the allegory of Plato's cave to understand what I'm telling you here. Yes. And you can find that allegory of Plato's cave on the broadcast on Nothing But the Truth, on the playlist in Nothing But the Truth on my channel, Joggler66. Look it up. It's less than an hour long. We did that one evening together with Tom Fress. There was such a wonderful broadcast about Plato's cave. Mm-hmm. And when I finally understood Milton William Cooper's sentence, I came out of Plato's cave. And then I felt a big hand touching my shoulder, knocking me on it and saying, come out of her, my people.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And all of a sudden, I found God. And I didn't find God of my own. I found God because he drew me to him.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
He wanted me to see all those things. Otherwise, he would have left me in my obliteration, in my ignorance.
Yep.
Like many other people.
Like me
But he
too.
saved me from that. Through the grace of God, I am saved.
Right.
Through the grace of God, I am saved to see the quote-unquote light. No, that doesn't make me an Illuminati because I see the light. But all of a sudden, I saw the light in the form of the Bible.
Yes, the light of the gospel, the light of the truth.
Yes.
The light of Christ. The brightest
and
light
all
there
of a sudden,
is, period.
And all of a sudden, everything in this world made sense.
Yes. Yep.
It made sense.
Yeah, the false light and the false illumination of this Catholic agenda is just, wow. I mean, strong delusion, Jörg.
Everything used to be so confusing, and all of a sudden, everything was so clear.
Yes.
The fog lifted.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. When you enter a dark room, take off your sunglasses and you will probably see at least a little bit more. Well, that's the way that I felt at that moment,
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And that is what the Jesuits do with their education, with their teaching. They take religion, it is all about religion, but they take that completely out of the teaching, so you don't even look for it.
Right.
And by that, you are lost, and you will go from one one road that is a dead-end road into the next dead-end road.
Yep.
And you will run against walls and against walls and against walls, and you will never come to the knowledge of truth. You can study as much as you want in this system, but never come to the knowledge of truth. As the Bible says, ever learning and never come to the truth.
Yes.
Because you don't have the right word with you, which is the word of God, which is the Bible. The Bible tells us everything, people. The Bible tells us absolutely everything. Books like Codeword Barbelon are just an appendix to that book.
That's
to fill in the gaps that we have in our carnal, in our fleshly understanding. Mm-hmm. Therefore, this book is very, very good.
It is very,
and
very
therefore,
good.
the book of James Edgar Wiley, Rome and Civil Liberty, is very good.
Yes.
And Romanism and the Reformation from Henry Gregg Gillis is very, very
fantastic books. Mm-hmm.
All of these books, all of these works, and probably a lot of the works that I read on my channel and that I'm going to read in the future on my channel. And I'm so glad to be here with Bret to present to you this Codeword Barbelon and to make you understand that even when you are not a religious person, you don't need to be, but if you do not seek to understand the religion of the people that rule you, you will never understand their motivation to rule you the way they do.
Yep, that's right. It's like what would you say, a lukewarm kind of, oh yeah, well, I don't care. I got my bread and circus, so I'm happy.
It's we say in German, it's the Teufelskreis. And the last part of the secret history of the Jesuits in Edmund Paris's book is called that way. It is called the infernal cycle.
Wow.
It is a cycle. You always turn in cycles around and around and around, like a dog chasing its tail, never getting it.
Or a cat. Yeah.
Yeah. You know? And
my
that
cats
is, of course,
do this every day right now because they're, you know, it's been a cold, miserable winter, and of course, you know, they get something called cabin fever.
Mm-hmm.
Cooped up too much.
Well, but the point is, when you are like a dog chasing its own tail, running in this infernal circle,
yes,
you need someone to take you out of there, because you on yourself cannot do that. And
yes,
that is,
you're right.
And that is what the grace of God is.
You know, Jörg, you really helped me out that way, you know, because I don't know if our listeners know this or not yet, but, you know, when I first met Jörg on Skype, and then I was right over the time when Antichrist, our current Antichrist, Francis, Jorge Bergoglio, came to speak to a joint session of Congress in 2015. I think it was right in one of those days there. I tried doing a reading of the secret history of the Jesuits, and it was really quite clumsy. And Jörg goes, I don't think you should put that up on your channel. And I thought, you know what? You're right. It's not that good. But I couldn't do it. Couldn't help but do it, you know? It's just one of these reactions. I guess maybe it was unhealthy, but maybe it's healthy in the long run because I learned something from it, Jörg. You know, and I couldn't have done that without you. So that's just one example of how things work. You know, if you're paying attention, you know, sometimes, you know, you do something that, you know, might have good intentions, but what's the end result of it? That's what we need to think of. What is the end result? Are you really helping anyone, or are you just making it more confusing?
That's true.
It's something to think about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. Now we spent another, 15 minutes outside of the book, but I think those are very important moments, and this is the reason why you should listen to our reading and discussion of the book Codeword Barbelon, because it's not an audiobook. It's not where we sit down and just read the lines.
Right.
But
it's not a pre-program thing where you just hit the play button and you know, there's no elaboration on terms or anything, any discussion at all. No, that's not what this is about at all here.
Let me put it this way. We have learned that the Jesuit will go wherever the general or his superior tells him to go, and he will do whatever he wants him to do. Well, I go and I turn to everything that the Holy Spirit leads me to do.
Yes.
And when the Holy Spirit leads me into reading this book, and then all of a sudden I read something, and there comes a flash, a thought into my mind about this, to further extract this, to further explain this, then this is the Holy Spirit and telling me to do this, and this is why I'm doing this. If you don't like it, switch off and go to another channel, because there are a lot of other channels. There you can have a look at Lady Gaga, and you can have a look at President Trump and Ivanka Trump and all this BS.
Yep.
Be busy with that.
Yep.
But if you want the truth, the unbridled truth, and the truth of the Holy Spirit delivered on the basis of the authority of the 1611 King James Version, then come to Bret's or my channel.
Yeah, it doesn't take much of the Antichrist system to tangle you up into a ball so tight you can't even imagine you're in it. You can't even imagine you're in it, but you're in it. You know, how do you explain that one? That's indoctrination, man. And we're living in the most toxic environment possible.
We said that already in the earlier broadcast, Bret.
Right.
It is said that the Jesuits' main purpose in American higher education is to lure promising young men into their colleges, inducing them to complete their formal education at the hands of the Jesuit fathers in their prestigious colleges and universities, and then thoroughly train and indoctrinate them in their moral and political maxims.
Ouch.
That's how they do it.
Ouch.
That's how they do it.
Man.
Now continue on the third paragraph on page 146. With this role being assigned him, meaning it is the same as if he were present in person, the general, and had seen and conversed with each. With this role being assigned him, the great Jesuit motto comes into its own: all things to all men. This every Jesuit is trained to be. The Jesuits have assignments of every sort and kind, and they are according to that well-known maxim of the Prophet Muhammad, quote, and seeing that a man will not move toward them, they will move to him, unquote. I don't know if that is from the Prophet Muhammad, probably yes. Here in Germany we have the saying, wenn der Prophet nicht zum Berg kommt, dann kommt der Berg eben zum Propheten. Which means in English, if the prophet doesn't come to the mountain, then the mountain will come to the prophet.
Wow.
So this is just an allegory of what the Prophet Muhammad said here in the Quran. And don't be surprised that all of a sudden you read here a quote of the quote-unquote Prophet Muhammad and from the Quran, because the higher echelons of Freemasonry are Muslim.
Yep, that's right.
Indeed, P.D. Stuart continues, the assignment of the Jesuit order is incredibly broad. Jesuit priests and brothers are engaged in ministries in over 100 nations on 6 continents, in habito seculare, in civilian dress. They are also actively involved in human rights and social justice. The end justifies the means. For the reader must understand that Rome, the reader or the listener and viewer of this video must understand that Rome and the Jesuits merely apes when they speak of human dignity and the inviolable rights of man. Well, my point is always, show me in the Bible where God gives man rights.
Or human dignity. Come on.
Just show me in the Bible where God gives man rights. Because, you know, the United States of America, Bret, is built on the assumption that men are equipped with some inalienable rights. Who gives these rights? God or the God of this world? Show me one verse in the Bible where God gives man rights. As far as I understand the Bible, God gives man rules, regulations, laws, commandments. But he doesn't give us any rights.
Of course not.
But by obeying to him and by obeying to his rules and commandments, we have rights imputed in us through Jesus Christ, because through him we are then made righteous.
That's right.
Okay? The instructions given to the Jesuit at his initiation directs him that he may be required to act incognito on one side of a conflict against his fellow Jesuits, even though in reality he be neither left or right. That is, they adopt any disguise or manner or opinion or position that will gain them an advantage with or encourage the confidence of those with whom they deal. Thus, the Jesuit can be liberal or conservative. He can be left or right. And so, while his church maintains an outward facade of consistency and conservativeness, the Jesuit, like a chameleon, may adopt any and every color suited for the occasion. Thus armed, the Jesuit can navigate all waters, sailing in and out of and in between opposing factions and points of views.
Wow.
Now it gets into the Jesuit universities and schools as nets, in like a network. Yeah? That is something here, it gets really interesting. What do singer and actor Harry Connick Jr., comedian Bob Newhart, and NBC broadcast journalist Tim Russert all have in common? They all graduated from Jesuit high schools and credit their Jesuit educations as instrumental in preparing them to pursue their dreams, unquote, from RNS. But more interesting is that when it says here, they all graduated from Jesuit high schools and credit their Jesuit educations as instrumental in preparing them to pursue their dreams. Do you remember the president you had in the 1990s by the name of William Jefferson Clinton?
Oh, yeah.
Bill Clinton. He credited his education in Georgetown University as instrumental, and his mentor, Carroll Quigley.
Carroll Quigley, that's right.
Yeah? So in a quote-unquote Protestant country, you have a president that is trained on the most prestigious Jesuit university that there is in that country. So when you know whatever you have heard about the Jesuits up to now, in us reading this book, do you really think that Bill Clinton had the best of the American people in mind? Or did he have maybe the best of the Roman Pope in mind? Such is the importance of Jesuit schools and colleges in preparing their students for future success. In the United States, 1 out of every 10 lawyers is a graduate from a Jesuit college. Indeed, one of the most important assignments of Jesuits is in the field of education. The Jesuits have trained or educated. Oh, believe me, I didn't read this because here comes up Bill Clinton. I didn't read it before. Really. The Jesuits have trained or educated some of the most influential men in history. Bill Clinton, René Descartes, Fidel Castro, whose closest advisor was a Jesuit. And by the way, Fidel Castro, for the case you don't know it, was a Jesuit priest himself.
Oh, wow.
Pierre Trudeau, Adolf Hitler, and Stalin, to name just a few. Stalin was at least 2 years in Georgia, Tiflis, in a Jesuit educated. And he also was a Jesuit priest of the short rope, as far as I know. For this knowledge and for a deeper knowledge of what we just said here, I can advise you to turn to a book if you have the money to spend it. Vatican Assassins by Eric John Phelps. I don't agree with Eric's teaching on the Bible, but his historical research is for, let's say, 75–80% true and unbridled. So you can learn a lot of.
Yep, you got to watch out with George Washington.
That's why I say 75–80%.
This Eric Phelps just is so, oh yes, George Washington was a righteous Freemason, whatever. I just don't get it with him, man.
No, he was no Freemason in the eyes of, he was a Presbyterian.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. I got to put on that.
That is just the point, you know?
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, a church elder, that's what a Presbyterian is. A church elder, yeah.
So, just repeating the sentence to get us back in the mood.
Thanks, yeah.
The Jesuits have trained or educated some of the most influential men in history. Bill Clinton, René Descartes, Fidel Castro, Pierre Trudeau, Adolf Hitler, and Stalin. I want to add Marx from the communism also, for an example. This guy who is always making these remarks, what's this called? Voltaire, was also Jesuit.
Right, exactly.
But to just name a few. This is no happenstance, people. Says Newman, quote, the marked ability of the Jesuit teachers, their unsurpassed knowledge of human nature, their affability of manners, and their remarkable adaptability to idiosyncrasies and circumstances of each individual made them practically irresistible when once they came into close relations with susceptible youth. Unquote. Barack Obama is one such youth. See later on page 183. So we have to go about 40 pages before we read about that.
Very good.
When Ignatius Loyola died in 1556, there were already more than 70 schools and seminaries around the old world. Since then, many more have been established in the New World, which is America. A statement from the American Jesuit website reads, the Association of Jesuit Colleges and Universities, AJCU, and Google that and you will find that on the internet without any problem. The Association of Jesuit Colleges and Universities is a national voluntary organization whose mission is to serve its member institutions, the 28 Jesuit colleges and universities, and its associate members, the 2 theological centers in the United States. Wow. The institutions are bonded together by a common heritage, vision, and purpose. Here is the list. Wow. Maybe interesting, Bret, when you have the time to copy that into your browser. Wow. Fordham College, St. Louis University, Boston College, which is the largest Jesuit campus in the whole world, Canisius College, College of the Holy Cross, John Carroll University, and I could go on over John Carroll for hours, Le Moyne College, Loyola College in Maryland, Gonzaga University, Georgetown University, Bill Clinton's alma mater, the most prestigious Jesuit university in all of America, founded by the first Roman Catholic Bishop of Baltimore in the United States, John Carroll, as Georgetown's boys' school in the beginning. Loyola University in Chicago, which is home of the Chicago Press. Regis University, Marquette University, Rockhurst University, St. Joseph's University, St. Peter's College, Santa Clara University, Seattle University. Yes, the University of Seattle is Jesuit-owned and run. The University of Detroit Mercy, University of San Francisco. USF is described as the premier Jesuit Catholic. The University of Scranton, Wheeling Jesuit University, Xavier University, Fairfield University, Creighton University, Loyola Marymount University, Spring Hill College, which is the first Catholic college in the Southeast, founded in 1830, and Montessori. About Xavier, I just wanted to say we have in one of the videos, I think it is in the outro of All Roads Lead to Rome, when you watch any video of my reading there, in the outro, there you have Böhner, the Speaker of the House, speaking of Xavier University where he was trained. That's right. The above list was taken from the Association of Jesuit Colleges and Universities website, and we have to remind ourselves these are only the real Jesuit-run universities, but as we read in the chapter before, it is not only about the schools that they run themselves. It is only, it is also that they indoctrinate them in their moral political maxims to do their bidding in positions of power and influence in schools that they control, whether obviously, like in these ones, or from the back. So it doesn't even have to stand on the top of this, but you can have a lot of other universities and colleges who are also Jesuit run, but they have no apparent Jesuit affiliation. The AJCU website states further, quote, they engage in a number of collaborative projects in the United States and around the world, unquote. Note, too, that the general of the Jesuits, the Black Pope, is invested with control over every aspect of the government and regulation of all the colleges and universities of the Society of Jesus. In addition to producing an annual report, every superior of a Jesuit college or university must report to the general once every 3 months of the state of the institution and must inform him minutely of the political and ecclesiastical condition of the country or city in which it is based. Each day, Jesuits in education are obliged to communicate any new information to the superior of the college where he works. These Jesuit universities, colleges, ecclesiastical schools, and seminaries dotted all across America are exerting their influence over the highest echelons of academia. And their policy is that, quote, all rectors and public professors in universities and academies, and likewise rectors of private schools, should all be found true Catholics through examination or secret information, unquote. Spreading their poisonous maxims. How do they do that? Well, through the alumni. And we're going to read about that in the forthcoming part of this chapter. In the minds of most people, the term Jesuit is synonymous with learning and brilliance. That, to a large extent, is true. But the real goal of Jesuit education was described by Jesuit General Pedro Arrupe in these terms, quote, Jesuit education would consist in the creation of multiplying agents, unquote. That is to say that each Jesuit student is educated to be a multiplying agent, to make disciples of others. You know, we have here in Europe the saying about this is a pyramidical form of hierarchy.
Right.
And that's it, because the moment that you are on the bottom, you are going to induce other people to join the same organization. So by that, you are broadening the foundation. And then some of you get up to a higher level, and even a higher level, and even higher level, and eventually leads to this pyramidical form of hierarchy. That's why it is very important that we understand here, that is to say that each Jesuit student is educated to be a multiplying agent, to make disciples of others. Once you're a Jesuit, one of the most important works that you have to do is to get others to Jesuitism too. And especially in the basis of the indoctrination and formation. Once you are a novice, the superiors will take care and will do the how do you say it, the selection, you know, and select whether people go further or don't go further. But you are there to get people into the Society of Jesus just as you got into the Society of Jesus. And you are there to get people into their education system just as you have been educated there. No? That's why a lot of people say, I went into that school, oh, wonderful, and I promote that school everywhere I was because it was so wonderful. And when you have some kind of quote-unquote success in this world, a lot of people will listen to you and then will say, oh, he was educated there. Wow, that's wonderful. I want to send my son there. I want to send my daughter there. And that's how each Jesuit student multiplies agents, makes disciples of others.
Sure.
This phrase This phrase, multiplying agents, was repeatedly used by General Pedro Arrupe in his writings and talks, such as, for example, in an address to the Truth International Congress of Jesuit Alumni of Europe held in Valencia, Spain, July 31st, 1973. Arrupe's address was published by the International Center for Jesuit Education, Roma Prati in Italy, under the title "Min for Others," unquote. And this is a quote that you can check in Pedro Arrupe's addresses to the European Jesuit Alumni Congress in Valencia in Hombres para los Demás, published in Barcelona by Diaphora in 1983 on page 159. I sometimes choose to read to you the source of these quotes to remind you that this book is wonderfully sourced. Nothing is conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. Everything is conspiracy fact. Everything is documented in this book.
Yep, it sure
Reader,
is.
It seems unnecessary to point out that those who study at Jesuit institutions would, to some degree or other, imbibe the maxims and moral theology of the Jesuits. The advantages such a zealous and enterprising body of Jesuit educators derive from their influence over former pupils cannot be underestimated. They mold the minds of their students and thus retain an influence over them, even in their more advanced years. There's an old saying, and it's most true, quote, "Give me the child until he is 7, and I will give you the man," unquote. That is to have a hold on him for the rest of his life. In fact, the Jesuits have their own maxim, quote, "Give us the education of the children of this day, and the next generation will be ours. Ours in maxims, ours in morals, and ours in religion," unquote. As one of their former pupils explained, quote, "The objective of the disciples of Loyola is to acquire the highest offices of state for the men they have poisoned with their maxims," unquote. They become tools of the Jesuits. Indeed, Walter Walsh tells us in The Jesuits in Great Britain, quote, "The mighty and widely ramified order of St. Ignatius was powerful enough to procure by its interest fare great advantages to individuals than could any other corporation, fraternity, or even secular power," unquote. Said Jesuit General Jean-Baptiste Janssens, and he, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, was the superior at the time of Albert Pike in the United States of America. Albert Pike, the highest Freemason of the Scottish Rite in the end of the 19th century in the United States of America, was controlled by the Jesuit General Jean-Baptiste Janssens. And he says, quote, "How much the society will accomplish if only we unite our forces and, in a spirit of oneness, gird ourselves resolutely for the work before us," unquote. Now, dear listener, please allow me that I make one small little comment on this sentence that he says here. Listen again. How much the society will accomplish if only we unite our forces and, in a spirit of oneness, making one, et pluribus unum, out of many one.
Yeah.
That is on the seal of the United States of America.
That's right. That's right. The second beast of Revelation.
My mother watches a lot of German television via the satellite dish that we have here in Belgium. We don't have normal Belgian cable television because I don't pay for that, because I don't want television in my house. Mm-hmm. But of course, my mother needs some kind of, Anyway, she watches a lot of television, and the first German channel is called ARD. That is Arbeitsgemeinschaft der Rundfunkanstalten Deutschlands. So that is a working committee of the German radio stations, because that's the way it started out, with radio stations. They are in every state in Germany. You know, Germany consists of 16 states who come together in the Federal Republic of Germany, like the United States of America. 50 states who come together in the United States of America. Same principle. And whenever you watch something on that channel, on the end, they say, we are one. And one for you. You know? And this is the kind of indoctrination that through the television the Jesuits use to plant that seed in your head. We are one. Oneness. So I'm sorry, I couldn't help when I read this here. And I didn't even read it on beforehand. It's just, this is what I meant before. This is the moment the Holy Spirit hits you, like you get a kick in the ass or something.
Yeah, right. Yep.
I read this, the spirit of oneness, and I see this is how they make everyone a Jesuit.
It is.
Because in the end, that is what they want. Whether make you a Jesuit or make you a Trentine Catholic. A Catholic who holds on to the doctrines of the Council of Trent.
Sure.
The most, how do you say that? I can't come to the word.
I was thinking unholy.
Yes, unholy is a good other word, but I cannot come to the word that I want to say.
That's all right. Maybe come back in a minute. That's fine.
Extreme, the most extreme kind of Catholic there is, because that's what Jesuits are.
Yeah,
they are extreme Catholics.
Right.
And we have come almost to an hour, and there follows a long list of people that we are going to go through, the alumni, as I told you before, and I think it is better to make a little break here and come back to another broadcast and then start with that interesting list.
Yes, tomorrow, Jörg, right? We'll come back tomorrow and get into this. That's wonderful. Yeah.
And then we're gonna continue on page 150 here. Yeah.
Right.
But please, Bret, I took all the talking time. Do you have any comments on anything that
I think you very fittingly commented there about the oneness. I really liked what you said there, Jörg, and that fit perfect. So maybe with that, we should end the broadcast for today.
Okay.
And
then it just leaves me tomorrow. It just leaves me with this little note, or this little
footnote.
How do you say that?
Oh
yeah, no, not a footnote. In Flemish we say oproep. This little call that I want to get out there to the people who are listening and watching this. Please study your Bible. Please study the Word of God, the only truth that is in the Word today. The 1611 authorized version of the King James Bible, as long as you can get a hold on it, please study it. Avail yourselves to the Word of God. And you will see, through the study of that Word, that then maybe leads you into reading this Codeword Barbelon for yourself, that everything we say here is true. Bret and I include also Tom Fress, we are not Roman Catholic bigots.
No.
But we have to point out the lie to lead you to the truth.
Yep, and the thing of it is a lot of our families, our institutions of learning, all these nooks and crannies that we grow up in, and we're slowly coming to the knowledge of how far this has gone. You have to just take it slow. Don't rush to it. Don't condemn your parents or anything. You know, this is the thing. I'm speaking for myself here, but I mean, you can, go as far as you need to go, but don't take it too hard on them either, because, you know, they might be coming to the same knowledge, but only in a different way. You know, who knows? We don't know the heart of men, but we do know that God has called us out of this corrupt system. So if you're listening to us today and this recording here on the internet, then you found a place of learning that goes contrary to this world, Jörg.
Learning against learning from the other side.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we definitely have a calling to separate from this world. I mean, Jesus calls us to die to ourselves every day, Jörg, right?
Mm-hmm.
So part of that death is dying to the indoctrination as well, and knowing that we really were deceived in our old life and our old man, and that we're so slowly coming to the knowledge of the new man more and more.
Yeah, and to acknowledge that for oneself is very hard to do, often because you really have to throw overboard everything you have been indoctrinated with in your life before. Everything you have learned up to here is a lie.
Yeah, that's right.
And that is a very hard pill to swallow. You know?
Yep, it hurts.
Because, I mean, the younger you are when that happens, the better it is. But when
even
you
still,
are when you are at a more achieved time of your life, like I was with 45, or Tom Fresworth was about 45 to 50 he was until it hit him, or until God hit him.
Oh, I'll tell you, man, I don't know. For me, this youthful spirit doesn't allow it to happen. It just can't. Because, you're telling me it's absolutely like this? No way, I'm not going to take it. And you just rush off as you're just pissed. But that's what it is. That's okay.
Yeah, let's close.
Let's
close with the word as the forerunner always says. The truth is the truth, whether you like it or not.
There we go. That's it.
And for that, I will close my contribution to this broadcast on the reading of the 14th chapter of Codeword Barbelon down for today, Bret, and say, God bless you all. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye on this Saturday, Sabbath, February 17, 2018. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.
And it came to pass, when Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second Abiah, and they were judges in Beersheba. And the sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, and took bribes, and perverted judgment. Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together, and came to Samuel unto Ramah, and said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Samuel, Hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto thee. For they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. According to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me, and served other gods, so do they also unto thee. Now therefore hearken unto their voice, howbeit yet protest solemnly unto them, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them. And Samuel told all the words of the Lord unto the people that asked of him a king. And he said, This will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons, and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. And he will appoint him captains over thousands, and captains over 50s, and will set them to ear his ground, and to reap his harvest, and to make his instruments of war, and instruments of his chariots. He will take your daughters to be confectionaries, and to be cooks, and to be bakers. And he will take your fields and your vineyards, and your olive yards, even the best of them, and give them to his servants. And he will take the 10th of your seed and of your vineyard, and give to his officers and to his servants. And he will take your men servants and your maid servants, and your godliest young men and your asses, and put them to his work. He will take the 10th of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants. And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king which he shall have chosen you, and the Lord will not hear you in that day. Nevertheless the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, Nay, but we will have a king over us, that we may also be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us, and go out before us, and fight our battles. And Samuel heard all the words of the people, and he rehearsed them in the ears of the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, Hearken unto their voice, and make them a king. And Samuel said unto the men of Israel, Go ye every man unto his city.